Hi there, this is Solitaire Ronan from Solitaire Ronan Films, and welcome to another double take. And today's double take features Something Wild by Jonathan Demme from 1986 and Something Wild by Jack Garfien from 1961. Both these films are on the Criterion Collection. Something Wild is spine number 563 and Something Wild is spine number 850. One film is about a man who is shown a different life by a woman, and the other film is about the effects of a sexual assault on a woman and the man who comes into her life. We'll start with Jonathan Demme's Something Wild. This stars Melanie Griffith, Jeff Daniels and Ray Liotta in his first role. The first half of the film is exuberant and quite light in New York, with lots of colours and flavours as far as the music's concerned. Very earthy, very melting pot of the world. And then the second half of the film, which becomes more of a road movie, becomes darker. The music becomes edgier and rockier as Melanie Griffith's character, who is spontaneous and takes Jeff Daniels away from his boring life, gives him some excitement, but then that excitement turns into ugly violence when Melanie Griffith's ex-boyfriend Ray Liotta turns up, and the whole film kind of changes in tone and ends in a potentially upbeat ending, but also potentially more turmoil for Jeff Daniels' character. In the 1961 film Something Wild, Carol Baker and Ralph Meeker star in it. Carol Baker is sexually assaulted and she leaves home, rents a small apartment, gets a job, but is still affected by the assault, goes to the bridge to commit suicide, and Ralph Meeker stops her and offers her a place to stay, to rest for a little while, and then that relationship changes to something more darker and more disturbing. And then as that film reaches its conclusion, it's potentially a happier ending, but also potentially not so much. So there's films that are Both films are similar in name, obviously. Similar in some of the tone. I wasn't aware of the 1961 film Something Wild. To give a shout out to Gray 1951, because he put it in one of his favourite films videos, and I was so intrigued by what he said that I picked it up on Criterion DVD. As far as I know, it's not available on Blu-ray, but I must say the print on the Criterion DVD is really good. It's got sumptuous black and white photography. Like I say, both films start in New York. Something Wild, Jonathan Demme's film, does kind of go out into the country a bit. But the character of New York in Jack Garfield's 1961 film is oppressive even. It's shot during a heat wave. When Carol Baker goes to the apartment that she rents, it's a really small apartment, it's grubby, there's a sleazy landlord, there's a potentially promiscuous girl who lives in the next apartment. It's sweaty and it's hot. When she's on the trains and it's crushed, she kind of freaks out and passes out on a train. Her job at Woolworths, she's surrounded by other women that don't really like her because obviously she's behaving a bit strangely. It's a really oppressive film. You really feel for Mary Ann, Carol Baker's character. The film was based on a book with the same name, Mary Ann, rather than Something Wild. And Jack Garfield was famous in the Actors Studio, and this was an independent film featuring actors from the Actors Studio. Ralph Meeker actually gives a kind of subtle performance, which is something that we're not necessarily used to seeing with Ralph Meeker. His character is as lost as Carol Baker's character, just for different reasons. And he really plays it quite well, even though he can change mood quite quickly. The sexual assault is done really very well. It's done in details, because she is essentially dragged into a bush and raped. But there's little details like the cross on her neck, which ends up in the dirt. There's a rock under her thigh. She goes home and she has a bath and she cuts up all her clothes with scissors into little squares and flushes them down the toilet. So you're automatically on her side. There's large parts of the film that don't have dialogue. She doesn't tell anybody what happened to her. And again, I don't want to spoil the film because people should see this film because it's very, very good. But her relationship, like I said, with Ralph Meeker kind of changes, because it goes from him offering to put her up to saying that she should stay, and then not letting her leave. It's an excellent film. It's certainly one that you perhaps have to be in the right mood for. The ending, I feel, I mean, it was an independent film, so I'm not really sure I don't think the Hays Code was around by then. But the ending, again, I haven't read the book, so I'm not sure it's got the same ending as the book, but it's maybe not the ending you think is going to happen. But it could possibly happen, I suppose. Yeah, it's an interesting film. It's beautifully shot. It has good music, but it does well because it doesn't use music during sexual assault, and it uses New York really well. There's also location shooting, and the city does really play a big part in the story. So Jonathan Demme's Something Wild is obviously more conventional. I think it did fairly well in the box office. I remember seeing it in home video. There's even nice cameo turns by directors John Waters and John Sayles as a car salesman and a motorcycle cop respectively for sharp-eyed viewers. But again, the ending of Something Wild goes for something conventional, but you feel that might kind of change. You know, do we believe that Melanie Griffith's character is really going to settle down? Do we believe that Jeff Daniels can actually live the rest of his life free and being spontaneous? I'm not that convinced. Obviously you have to talk about Ray Liotta and his film debut. He's explosive, he is dangerous. Apparently Jonathan Demme saw lots of guys potentially for this role, and just kind of recognised Ray Liotta's danger. I mean, it's a very good film. It's one of my favourite Jonathan Demme's. It might be my favourite Jonathan Demme, apart from Stop Making Sense. And it's a fun road movie that again takes a dark turn in its second half. Yeah, both these films, well, I would say Something Wild starts off light, but Something Wild, the 1961 film, doesn't start off light. It's not light in any way, shape or form. But they're both films about the darkness within, and they're both about life-changing events and how your perception of the world can be altered by those events, whether it's a spontaneous woman turning up and taking over your life, or whether it's being sexually assaulted. So thanks very much for watching this double take with Something Wild from 1961 and Something Wild from 1986. So let me know in the comments below which one of the Something Wilds you've seen, or whether you've seen both of them, what you think of them, and hopefully we'll see you again for another episode of Double Take. This is Solitaire Ronan from Solitaire Ronan Films, saying thanks for watching and farewell.